Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Uh, this is, I don't know, number 28 or 29 in my wonderful 10-day journey through the Garden State Film Festival, having met some of the most incredible, truly incredible filmmakers, directors, writers, production people, musicians. I'm so glad I sent a little email out to Lauren Concord from the Garden State Film Festival. I think she should send me a couple of people to interview, and little did I know that 50 showed up, and we've been sitting here for a long time. I'm with Bonnie Gross and Nancy Boyd, filmmakers and writers in something that we're going to talk about. And it's funny, I'm a guy, and sometimes I have a hard time spitting out some of these words, so I'm going to kind of leave that to you guys. But their movie, Lady Parts, which we're here to talk about, and a little movie poster, if you can see, Lady Parts. It's exactly what it says. There's no. It's about lady parts, and it's based on a true story of Bonnie's journey. And I'm sitting here. I've taken pages of notes, listening before he went on air, and I've done my own research. Talk about brave on both counts, on Bonnie's and Nancy, and your journey, which we're going to talk about. It's I've never. Well, first of all, I'm being a guy who goes to football games. I had no idea about this kind of stuff that it even existed, and yet you'll say how common this condition is, and I can't even. Uh, I guess I can say it, vulvo-vaginal kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
you did great.
Vulvovaginal pelvic pain.
but anyway, this monologue is done. This is a hugely important film you made because it's illuminating for armies of people because it's common. 1 out of 4. You said, my goodness. So, monologue done. Uh, uh, and here's the test. My Johnny Carson monologue is done. Of course, half the people I talk to don't know who the hell Johnny Carson is, which clobbers me over the head, but it is what it is. Anyway, Bonnie Gross, Nancy Boyd, how about doing a little bio and just a little background, and we're gonna jump in to lady parts.
Woo.
Okay.
Really. Um, so my name is Bonnie Gross. Yes, gross like disgusting. We love it here. I'm the writer and executive producer of Lady Parts. It's based on my own true story about moving back home with my parents to get a vestibulectomy. If you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about it, so don't worry. But born and raised in Philadelphia, I've been working in film for 10 plus years, mainly doing comedy, which this film is a comedy. I have a really big passion for interweaving comedy with vaginal healthcare and making it something we can normalize. And I'm just super excited to be here and be at the Garden State Film Festival and with Calvin. This has been an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm Nancy and I'm the director of Lady Parts, and I grew up in a film family of sorts. My parents, and also I was students in their class, but my parents are film professors, and so they kind of ingrained that type of storytelling at a very young age with me. And I love movies, and eventually that means that you have to move to Los Angeles. So I moved to Los Angeles to get my graduate degree in film at USC. And while I was there, my best friend since kindergarten, Megan Griesbeck, who's one of our producers on this film, was talking to Bonnie about this story that she wrote and how she was going to make it into a movie. And Megan said, my friend has a very similar issue, so I think that you guys should meet. And we did, and it was Kismet. And we made this incredible film, and it's been so much fun sharing it with so many people. And again, I never talked about this with anyone before. And now we're going on podcasts and interviews and things like that, talking about it openly because that's what we want. We want this to not be some shameful, taboo topic. We want people to be able to talk about their health just in their everyday life because it should be normal.
Great. Wow. Okay. So. What was the inspiration behind creating Lady Parts? Great title, by the way, because it kind
Yeah.
of take you in different directions.
Yeah.
How much of it is, I sort of kind of know this, but how much is it really true to your personal journey? Summarize.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can start too with why we named it Lady Parts, because I think that's very interesting too. So I feel like a lot of times we're still scared to even say the words vagina or vulva, which are literally just body parts, but we tend to use euphemisms instead, like, I don't know, lady parts. So it was kind of like you said, a nice little misdirection where you don't really get it, but then we even call it out in the movie. Like, why are we having these nicknames for our lady parts when they literally, it is a vagina, it is a vulva, it is an anatomically like body part. Call it what it is.
You say penis all day long, so why not that?
Not. But in regards to your other question about it being true to life, it is very true to life. So what really inspired it is I got a surgery in 2016 called a vestibulectomy. I had a condition called neuroprolific vestibulodynia. Try saying that 10 times fast. But it's you have too many nerve endings at the opening, the vestibule of your vagina, and basically, it's a surgery to remove all that affected tissue and replace. And so, what it would feel like is anytime something touched that tissue, it would feel like someone was taking a hot knife and digging in. It would be extremely painful. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor on this medical gaslight loop. I was at the student health center. I remember I was 19 years old, and the doctor told me, "Why don't you just drink a wine cooler before sex?" As if alcoholism is the answer. And I wish I could say I was alone in that, but I have heard that from multiple other people being told stuff like that, or they were prescribed anti-anxiety meds, or told to calm down, or just relax. And finally, I found a doctor that believed me, but was not covered by insurance, was very expensive. And ultimately, I ended up getting this surgery, moving back home with my parents to recover. It's a very intense recovery period. You'll see it in the film. And then at the end, we kind of deal with her vaginismus, which is the hypertonic pelvic floor. So your muscles involuntary spasm. For me, there's many reasons this can be happening for many people, but for me, it was hitting the nerve endings. So my muscles would just automatically tense up. So I had to use what's called dilators. If you look on the poster there in the crown she's wearing. And yeah,
Yep, there it is.
and so
We
you'll
also made one of our team members made that crown, and so I wonder if we'll bring it to the Garden State Film Festival
I
because it's
think
very
it might
fun
be.
when people wear them on the red carpet.
I'm just gonna say I feel like the dilator crown. Shout out to Edith Belmont. She was our editor. She's fantastic. Her and her sister, Shelly, actually made the dilator crown. And I will definitely bring it to Garden State. I think it'll be amazing.
Wearing it, Calvin.
Yeah,
Um,
we need a picture of Calvin in the dilator
by the
crown.
way, I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
But
I'm not,
um,
I love free expression. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And honestly, a lot of this story is very much true. The only things that are changed are the timeline of events, just because movie magic, it's got to fit in 100 minutes. So you don't want to sit and watch me doing, watching all of Game of Thrones. You don't need to see that. And and then also I do have a sister in real life. I have an older sister. I'm not an only child, but for the script, we thought it would make more sense because the parents are very overbearing. It makes more sense for them to be as overbearing as they are if it was an only child. And they talk about that too in the movie. And then also you'll see her sleep on an air mattress. I did sleep on an air mattress for 3 years. That all is true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little Easter eggs for me and Nancy and some filmmakers that we threw in there that are really fun that we can get into too. But I think what really inspired it was I wrote a blog post about it in 2016 after my surgery when I was doing the dilators. And I got all this amazing feedback with people saying, wow, I really related to the story. Wow, this is incredible. I love this. And, or I know somebody with this, or I had no idea you were going through this. Because again, I was so scared to talk to anybody. It was so stigmatized. I was just terrified. And it really gave me that confidence to say, you know what? I'm going back to school. I went back to school at UCLA at night while working full time for script writing. And I was like, I'm going to write about this and we're going to make this. And so I'm so happy that, I found Nancy, I found Megan, Edith, Ola, all these people that ended up coming on and being just as passionate about this project and the message. And I
Holly.
think that was like what's inspiring about it is just so many people bringing whatever they can bring to it. And, and now we have a whole feature film and we're playing it in front of audiences and we're really finding so many people coming up to us after saying how inspired they were. They might have this issue or they finally feel comfortable having a conversation with someone. And so it's just been a really beautiful process.
I'm curious, why it was, of course, we know why it's important to tell a story because
Yeah.
it's more common than we even imagine. But
Mm-hmm.
why tell a story through like a comedy narrative type of feature? Comedy.
I
Bonnie and
definitely,
I can't stop telling jokes, is really what it is. If
yeah.
we tried to be serious, it wouldn't work.
No, I was like, we're just sitting here shooting the shit all day. No big deal. No, but really, I mean, life is a tragedy when looked done close and a comedy when looked done far. And I think what's really beautiful about this is I know for my journey, and I know for Nancy too, like we both use humor to cope. And I think a lot of people do. And I know for me and my parents, we were I mean, the same moment I freaking pooped my pants during the surgery, and my mom had to take me. You'll see it in the movie, but she takes me to the bathroom to sit bath, and I remember we're like laughing and crying and screaming. It's like every emotion into one, and I think what's really beautiful is really humanizing it to be like, no, this isn't just some random person. Like this is a human being who's dealing with this, who could be your sister, your friend, your partner.
Not
And
just a number.
yeah,
I think the other thing that we know too is that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So, um, it's a lot easier to get people into a theater to learn about vaginal health if we say it's a comedy about dealing with your parents, as opposed to being like, do you want to see this dark documentary? It's
yeah,
better when it's a comedy. You're gonna get some more people there. It's easier.
yeah.
It's easier.
And like, what's beautiful too is, because it's a comedy and it's really like the comedic horrors of being a daughter. There,
Mm.
anybody can walk in there, no matter your age, race, gender, whatever it is, and
Yes.
find something to pull from it and be like, oh my God,
Yes.
I've been there.
Yes. We have so many men that walk into lady parts and laugh their butts off and are weeping, weeping. And
Yeah.
so it's not just like girl comedy, like women are funny for everyone, not just other women.
Um, as I've gone through, 20 or 30 of these, there's a commonality that you amazing people have, you indie people, you wonderful indie people. And the commonality I've observed is micro budgets.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. We
yeah,
definitely have experience with micro
yeah.
budget.
So you had a micro budget.
Ah,
How'd you make it work? I mean, you
Um,
did a feature film on a micro
I want to
budget.
I want to say too, this was entirely my entire life savings I put into this movie. And then we did Indiegogo donations. We had a lot of generous friends and family all giving anything they could, either sponsoring meals on set, offering up locations, things like that. Like it was very shoestring and like it was a village that made this movie. Like it was the
Any
vagina village.
Anytime you have a micro budget, you are asking so many favors. But what I've learned is that you never stop asking favors, you never stop asking for things. And so I feel like as independent filmmakers, sometimes we're scared that because we're asking for help, we're not real. But I asked my teachers at USC, like, when do we stop asking people for money? When do we stop? And they're like, never,
Never.
never. This is your job forever. And it's like, oh, okay. But truly, so many people gave their time and volunteered so much. Like our actors, our crew, and anyone who gave meals. Like our parents did so much for this and stuff. And we so appreciate that, and we so recognize that so much time and effort has been put into this by so many people. because they believed in this story. And that's what any filmmaker needs, but especially any independent filmmaker, what they need more than anything is people to believe in them.
And, a big theme we've been having with this project in particular, I mean, I remember writing it and saying, like, I will do whatever it takes to get this made. I know I don't have a trust fund. I don't have, money. I have my savings since I was 16, and that's what we're gonna do. And I feel like, if there's not a seat at the table, we'll bring a damn lawn chair and pull a seat up and ask, because the worst case is you're gonna end up in the same place you are now. They
Hmm.
might just never reply. Okay, well, at least you tried. And, you'd be surprised. We had so many things that we've asked for that we were so shocked by. We got all but one location for free,
Hmm.
or for favors. We got a lot of stuff at a big discount. A lot of people really want to help filmmakers, especially women filmmakers, or especially if it's a topic that they really care about. We definitely, I remember for one of the music licensing, emailing somebody and they emailed me back like, oh my God, my wife deals with this. And like, she's a nurse and she sees this. And so like, you just never know who's going to have
Yeah.
that. And again, another thing about our movie, you never know.
Right.
You
Who's
never
gonna have
know.
vulval vaginal pelvic pain as she is. I hope no one ever has to, um, but yeah, the micro budget. But honestly, I do think that being micro budget allowed us to be really creative. I mean, there's so many things.
Forced us to be really creative.
Yeah, like everybody had to be so creative, and I honestly think it made the movie better because there's so many things we did because we can't afford that, and now I'm like, oh, what a cool choice we made, or what a cool way we did this, and
The actor has to leave in 15 minutes, and we didn't realize this because they have another job and they're being paid for that one. So of course we have to let them go to that. Okay, we can shoot the scene in 15 minutes. Let's just make it this crazy oneer.
yeah, and you know what? It's really cool.
It is.
So you
I
make it
watched that scene.
happen.
I can't imagine it being another way.
Yeah.
Well, uh, I it's really hard. What I mean, you're making a film, there's not a lot of films like this, maybe none, probably none ever. So it's so brave, really, so brave to do this because you're really doing a noble thing. You're bringing something that's so personal. So that whole notion and what you're dealing with has to be surrounding you, you know, like you know, like it's drizzling and foggy and you've got to deal with it. So it's hard, isn't it, to
Yeah.
deal with such a hard subject?
I think like being so close to it obviously is really like a challenge as well because, healing obviously you want to say, "Oh, well, I got the surgery and I'm all better." And then, healing is never a linear journey. You're going to have your great days, you're going to have your bad days. And, trauma is really intense. I do have some PTSD. I do suffer from depression and anxiety. I think it's important to talk about mental health as well. And I really think sometimes just being on set, I had to step away because I was like, oh, wow, it's a bunch of emotions I hadn't processed or I hadn't thought about this in a long time. I kind of forgot that this happened. And a lot of people that have these kind of conditions, sometimes when they're like, oh, you went through that? And you're like, yeah, I did. Like you almost like gaslight yourself in a way, like, oh, I didn't go through it. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And then you kind of see it and you're like, oh, it was kind of bad. Or, oh, wow, I really did just kind of blocked it out and didn't think about it. And so I love my therapist. Thank you. I won't name her, but thank you. And I think, what was really special too was everybody on set was just so supportive and so amazing. I mean, like, I know like we also had our intimacy coordinator, Allison, who was incredible and there for intimate scenes and really worked with us. And then everybody also, I mean, we just had this really open set where we were, people hadn't touched lube before. A lot of the, men on set were like, what are these dilators? Can you explain them? Or can you explain what's happening? And I think it just made this amazing situation where people were talking and people were being open and comforting and we were the type of set where like everyone can hug, everyone can talk about feelings. But
We had period products on set that were fully available too. You didn't have to like ask a producer and be like,
Nope.
"Hey, where's the pad?" It was just there. It was on the table next to the snacks. We're like, "Have it. Have whatever you need." And we've kept that going through festivals. Any festival that allows us, in the theater bathrooms, we like to give free menstruation products to people because you're at those film festivals, things happen, accidents happen, and you don't know that things are going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. So many reasons why someone might need them. And every time we have to refill them over and over and over because they are such an important thing that people need. And we think that it's, something that we can take off people's plates and they can just enjoy the films.
Yeah. And, at Garden State, we're going to have, I believe, 2 to 3. I know they're definitely going to be at Asbury Lanes and Asbury Hall and possibly Berkeley. But we're really, really proud to do it because, obviously, menstruation products should be free because they're just health and you need them. But, another important part too is, for me and Nancy, like using tampons is not an option. And for some people, it's really not an option. And so having a variety and having pads and panty liners and different options available too, we're just super proud to have had that on set and then also to have that at the festivals.
It's funny, you just said tampons.
Yeah.
I might as well do a plug for There's a Tortoise in My Hair, A Journey to Spirit. It's a Kirkus novel. It's new. But in the framework of this early on, there's a character with his girlfriend, and there's a whole passage about tampons.
Oh my God.
Dang.
Love.
It's actually humorous,
I believe it.
kind of like Lady Parts. It's a very funny passage. You got to remember, chronologically, it's 1965, and things are open today. Things weren't open back then,
Yep.
and there's a great, maybe classic scene revolving around tampons, and that's all I'm going to say. So let's take a little bit of a breath. Take a little deep breath, and I have to ask an off-topic question. It's one of my favorite questions, and I borrowed it from one of my favorite journalists. Her first name is Barbara. Barbara
Not
Walters.
Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara, not Barbara, but Barbara Walters, and
Yes.
just a hero all the way around. Such a hero
Barbara.
of mine. But anyway, here goes. It's cute. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend the day with.
Anyone.
There's so
Good.
many people.
No, there's no rules.
lot.
There's a few. There's a few. There's no
There's
rules.
a lot of living, there's a lot of dead. Yeah, there's a
Yes.
lot of those.
Okay, my first initial thought was Betty White. I would
Yeah.
love to have just a day with Betty White and we just see what happens. We take on Miami like it's the Golden Girls. That would be a dream.
Great answer.
Honestly, I'd probably want to meet Greta Gerwig because everything she's doing, I'm obsessed with. And like ever since I was watching her like mumblecore movies that she was acting in, and I was like, oh my God, Greta Gerwig's amazing. And then I never in a million years thought that she would like skyrocket how she did, and it's amazing. So I would want to talk to her.
Great answer. Great answer. Truly, and it's funny. Truthfully, I've asked this about 25 times already, and there were a couple Greta Gerwigs.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. I want to meet her.
She's great.
Awesome. I want to meet her.
It sure does.
Lady Bird was one of the inspirations for the script, so
Yeah, I think she's amazing.
I'm super inspired by her.
Okay, great. Okay, back to work.
Okay.
All right, back to work. I'm taking a deep breath myself.
Yeah,
Can you
hold
tell us
on.
how the use of quote skin showing in intimate scenes versus some of the medical scenes played a role in this film?
Yeah, so our DP, Olo Olabi, who is a genius, her and I, when we were making the visual language for the films, for the film, one of the rules that we came up with was whenever there was something sexual in nature happening, we wanted to show as little skin as possible. Because I feel like every time you watch a sex scene in a movie, they're like, let's show the boobs of the lead female character because that will get people in seats. And we didn't want to do that. This is about her, and this is about her personal journey, and so we wanted it to be all about what she's experiencing. So anytime there's a sex scene, we're pretty much just seeing her face, and we're seeing like our actress Valentina Tammaro is incredible, and so you can just see the entire journey on her face of like, what is she thinking about? Is she having a good time with this? Is she anxious? Is she feeling pain? Is she enjoying herself? Because in this movie, the sex kind of shows the emotional journey that she's going with. It's not there to be like, woo, what an exciting time. It's there to show where she is in her own personal journey. And then to flip that on its head, whenever there was something that was medical and very not sexy at all, that's when we have some skin or some nudity involved. Just kind of to show like the female body is a body. It doesn't have to be this sexual object. It's just a body, and we deal with it in so many ways. Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to highlight nudity during the medical scenes as opposed to the sex scenes.
Okay. It's funny. It's not funny, but the whole subject of the film and everything going on. So how did you, on set and stuff, connect with people involved in the film, knowing that this is about you and there has to be some energies of connection involved.
Yeah. I mean, again, we are so low budget, micro budget that all of us are wearing 20 different hats. I mean, we are at one point, I'm driving the truck with the equipment, I'm running props. Like, we are all doing crazy jobs. And so it really came down to trust. And I was like, how can I get people that I 100% trust that, can do this? Because, like, there's going to be times where one of us has to step out and do this, and we're getting pulled in a million directions. And I need a team of people that can do it. And I just remember, meeting with Nancy, meeting with Ola, meeting with Edith, meeting with Holly, Meg. Obviously, I worked with Megan, so I knew her already, but just meeting with all these people, and I was just like, okay, we're doing it. And like, we're just as passionate. These are amazing, badass females, like ready to work, ready to do their thing. And, letting go can be some of the hardest thing ever, as we all know, especially when it's personal. So I'm just really glad that I trusted them. And I mean, you can see it when you watch it. It's beautiful. And it's thanks to, all these people that came in and put their hard work on it.
All right, another one of my favorite questions, because I know nothing about your world
Yeah.
per se, although I was in a movie with Meryl Streep.
That's cool.
Can I change my answer to the other one? I do want to hang out with Meryl Streep too.
Yeah, well, I did. Long story. She made this movie called One True Thing. She's dying in the movie. It was an Anna Quinlan novel, and I just went to watch him film it because I'm such a groupie, and I love all this stuff, and you couldn't get to within 3 blocks of where they were filming it. But finally, there was a break, and everybody, it was being filmed in November. It was a Christmas scene, so there was a machine making snow. So my sister and I, the police let us through and the barricades, and we sat.
Amazing.
We had a slice of pizza for an hour and a half while everything's going on, and then I said to my sister, "It's so exciting, to be on set. Let's just go out until they chase us away." So we were watching, and
That's
then
awesome.
we were just watching all the activity and getting ready to shoot the scene. And sometimes in life you feel there's somebody standing next to you. So I turned, and literally right next to me is Meryl Streep, William Hurt, Renee Zellweger,
Oh.
right next to me. So I was coming out of my shell. I wasn't so shy, and I started to talk to Meryl and tell her how much I admired everything. And while I was talking, one of the production assistants thought I was part of that entourage. And he came over to me and he said, "We got to place you now." So I said, "Let's go." And right to the set, and then he said, "Everything you have to say and do." And I remember an old Richard Pryor movie and I borrowed a line from Richard Pryor, and I said, "It's been a really long day. Why don't you just go over it again?" And end of the thing, I was the biggest thing in that scene, that Christmas scene at 6'5", and I'm in a movie.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
anyway, back to you guys.
Oh
I
my,
love that.
It's a great story. It is a great. And by the way, I never got paid for that. And I didn't want to start trouble, so I left it.
Yeah, yeah, you're like,
No,
I'll just get out.
yeah,
yeah, you're like,
$75, I think was the scale back then. Whatever. Anyway, what I want to know is, tell me about the casting process.
Yeah, we have an incredible cast. I love them so much. And the director, obviously, I worked very closely with all of them, and they were just the sweetest, most wonderful, hardworking people in the entire world. And our lead actress, Valentina Tammaro, is my artist soulmate. I love her so much, and I worked with her actually on another project during COVID at USC. We were not able to be in the same room as our actors, so we were supposed to film projects, but we would have to send the cameras to the actors' homes and the lights and the sound and everything, and we would get on Zoom and we would basically teach the actors how to film the movie on their own. And Valentina was the actor that was crazy enough to say yes to that. And it was insane. It's just a crazy thing to ask an actor, and she learned so much, and she had such high spirits the entire time. And I thought, if she's crazy enough to do this, she's crazy enough to be in Lady Parts. And I'm so glad that it worked out, because she is the heart and soul of this movie when you watch it.
yeah.
Again, like, she tells such a story just by like a, her face. Like, her face is everything. And she was just so resilient, because again, we were very micro budget, and there was a lot of, learning on the fly and things like that. And actually, I think our entire cast, like the entire ensemble, is nominated at Garden State Film
Yeah.
Festival.
We are,
Um,
yeah, Valentina for lead actress, and also our parents, Amy Linden,
yes,
Peter Larney, who play Linda and Steve, are nominated for Best Supporting. So just want to shout out, really, really
That's
super
great.
proud.
they're the best. We love, I mean, those parents too, like, they make the
Uh,
film. They're
yeah.
incredible.
And like Valentina at one point, like she's like literally playing camera operator. You'll see there's like a POV vagina, and she's like playing camera operator. She's living in the childhood room where we're filming.
Yep.
Yeah, like I cannot say enough amazing things about all, like everyone, our whole cast and crew. Like everyone was just phenomenal.
Um, by the way, what a testament, the fact that so many people are nominated. I mean,
Yeah.
huge. That's a
Huge,
huge testament. Yep.
huge.
Um, uh, there has to be brands and organizations that you work with, that you've been involved with. Whether was there any like knee-jerk reactions and pullbacks or anything like that? As far as subject matter goes.
You know what's so funny is we thought there would be, and every place we've been showing has mainly been in the South. And I think a lot of us were very surprised by that at first. But if anything, we've been welcomed with open arms. We sold out at almost every screening we've gone to. We've won audience awards or jury awards at every festival we've been to. People are really, really resonating with it. And I think it's like Nancy said, a spoonful of sugar is like, I think they don't really realize everything they're learning until they take a step back and they really notice. And, coming as somebody that lived in the South before too, I think a lot of people stereotype and say, oh, well, it's obviously all this way. And I'm like, no, there's a huge need and there's a huge community here too that's really going to love this. And so we've got nothing but love, which has been so surprising. We were ready for all the pushback in the world. We were so prepared for that. And
It's hard to hate us.
I was like,
But
it's
we've
hard.
also had some brands that have helped us out along
Yes.
our journey, like Intimate Rose, for instance, was so helpful to us. They supplied the dilators and the lube on set that we needed as props, which was fantastic. And then the pelvic people have been so wonderful. Every screening, we like to raffle off a vibrator, but it's a very special vibrator because it's one that helps with dilation. So it's therapy, but it's making therapy feel not so painful. And so we raffle one of those off every time. Who else have we partnered with? Hello
Um,
Gina, right?
yeah, Hello Gina, which is like an online platform for vaginismus, so it's accessible to anyone. You can do it from the comfort of your home, all virtual. We've also done Tight-Lipped, which is a advocacy organization by and for people with vulvovaginal pelvic pain. We've partnered with them to do friendship making bracelet parties, just to help spread awareness. You know, a lot of people in those come to events, because a lot of them, like us, have never seen content about this. So it's such a healing thing to go see, you know, yourself represented on screen in that kind of way. And we've also paired with, you know, a lot of local businesses everywhere we go. Like here in New York, we've partnered with Please, which is like a feminist sex shop. We've partnered with Sugarwood, who makes penis and vagina fun waffles, and they're very sex positive. In Orlando, we partnered with what is it, the Woodshed?
Yes, yes. We've had a couple sex dungeons help us out. They've been very sweet.
Yeah, we've, you know, Feminist Bookshop in Brooklyn helped us out. So it's really been like a very community-based thing, and we found that a lot of people are so willing to jump in and help. Even if it's just, oh, can you put up some flyers and some postcards, and or can we host a, you know, a sex education talk at your space? And people are really love doing it. Oh, Platypus in St. Louis. I loved that place too.
Fun bar.
Um, uh, uh, um, when you get some feedback from people watching it, and you've done stuff, you know, in the South. Are there any? Are there any? Do people convey to you that they're surprised about anything? I mean, if I saw it, I know I would be surprised about the frankness
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the pure honesty and the frankness.
So the biggest surprise, I think, to most people is how supportive the parents are,
Mhm.
which I found really telling. Because you think going into it, oh, it's this awkward subject, and the comedy is going to come from the parents not wanting to talk about sex and
Yeah.
not wanting to be engaging and supportive in that way. And I think, you know, a lot of people, mainly with the father figure too, were like, I can't believe your dad was like that. And, you know, I'm like, my dad even said to some people, you know, my daughter's in pain. She's in excruciating pain. Why would I not care? It doesn't matter what body part is in pain. My daughter is in pain. And, you know, I think a lot of people get really shocked, but we did have somebody leave one of our first screenings. He was a father, and he's like, I have a 9-year-old daughter. And thank you for, I'm so glad I came to see this, because now I feel like I can have a conversation with her about this. And
Mhm.
like, to me, I was like, that is,
Mhm.
wow, wow.
Yeah, I think people are also surprised by how sweet it is because while it is very stark, we tell it in such a way where it's like everyone in her community cares about her, and it's just very like heartwarming and sweet, the tone. And a lot of people are surprised that they cry.
That's a huge one. Sometimes twice, if they're lucky.
I can see the emotionality here, and it's funny. You can feel the emoting from you both on both sides of the camera. Uh, well, not necessarily both sides of the camera,
Yeah.
but I
On
know
the
what I'm
right and the
trying to.
left.
Yeah, I know what I'm trying to. You can feel that. There's that energy, and again, as we started, our pre-interview, and you're throwing around those words. Yeah, I've seen it all, and I've done it all, and I've been around, but nevertheless, there's still a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Uh,
Mhm.
but I'm just overwhelmed, and I have to write some stuff when I write. But your tremendous bravery, because it's brave to do what you both have done. This is a brave brave undertaking. You can do it in the veil of a comedy, but my goodness, there's a powerful message here to a lot of people. And that what overwhelms me here, becoming friends with you guys, your bravery. It's brave because, we live in a crazy, repressed world. You're right out there on the front lines of bravery. I said that a few times. Um, you use uh, you use a lot of color in this film. Does it have a special meaning? I mean, I know the movie poster is
Yes.
it's kind of I look at it and it's sort of surreal
Mm-hmm.
because of the color of the poster. So is all this by design?
Yes, we had an incredible artist make it. She was incredible, incredible. And Olo Lobby, our DP again, she and I, when we were going over like the color story of the film, we planned that the movie would start as blue as possible, whether that be the surroundings, a little bit of the color grading, and her costumes. And then as she grows as a character, everything becomes more and more pink. And
Yeah.
we wanted that to represent her kind of coming into like her womanhood and her femininity and like taking it on as strength. Because I think a lot of times we think of femininity and pink and frilly and all those things, and we kind of shove them into like this weak category. And we wanted her to say like, no, I've been through hell and back and I am empowered and I can do whatever I want with this body of mine. And then she embraces herself and embraces pink, which honestly, I found that in a lot of women where when they're younger, they say that they don't like pink because they either get made fun of for it or they are thought that they're just like these silly girls and things like that. And so they say that they don't like it. And then later on in life, they're like, wait, I can like whatever I want and still be respected. And so they go back to liking pink. So that's kind of what we wanted on her journey.
By the way, I've never heard this before. Again, I'm never on your side of the
And
fence.
you're wearing pink, so you
Yeah,
get
well,
it.
I wore pink because it was a subliminal thing. I wanted to bond with you, and I thought pink might do it. But I was never aware of the subtleties of using color in film. Uh,
Yeah, and I want to shout out
yeah.
to our amazing colorist, Katie Jordan. She is amazing beyond words, and she just did such a fantastic job too when we were finally like in making those finishing touches on it. Um, and it was, and you'll see too at the festivals, our whole team wears pink. We're not hard to miss. I'll put it that way. You can see us coming. I but
Said
yeah.
it's important to brand.
But yeah, it's been really fun to be at the festival. I'm like, look at our entire group of pink wearing women badasses coming to you to show you this film we made. It's a really empowering feeling to see us all on stage and see like all of our department heads. Look at these amazing women. They're all up here wearing, pink or whatever their version of it is, and it's really, really cool to see.
A couple more things. Um, the use of music in the
Yes.
film. You have, I guess, some original music from your composer. Is it Holly? Um, not. So your use of music in the film. Talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit.
We actually have a lot. We have our fabulous, fabulous composer, Holly. She actually incorporated different vibrator sounds and her own singing and moaning sounds into the entire soundtrack.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. She messaged me on Instagram. She's like, hey, I really relate to the content you're posting. Can we chat? And so we all hopped on a Zoom. She was incredible. We ended up meeting in real life at the London Heathrow Airport, which is the most lady parts thing that could happen because it starts and ends in a bathroom, which you'll find out. So it was, again, another kismet. Hey, this is
Sure,
a good moment. But
sure.
we also have, a ton of music choices in there, which I love because they're
A lot of like girl punk stuff, which is fun. And then we have at the end a song by Megan Windsor and Jane Honor, and it's called "The C Word," and it's pretty fun. It's very like empowering, and it's
yeah.
fun.
And during one of the montages, we have Taco Cat, and the song is Crimson Wave, which is about riding the crimson wave of your period.
Mhm.
Is again really fun, really empowering, really on brand. And lastly, there's a song that plays over a family dinner scene. And it's actually my dad's band from the 70s. So we took a recording that they made in the 70s and we incorporated it into the movie. And yeah, he's in high school when he did it. And one of his other band members also was our lawyer. So it was really fun, I guess, to show them and be like, they were not expecting it at all. Um, so it's just a really special tie-in for that to be there. And the song's called Gentle Lady. So I feel like he knew.
You
All
know.
back then, he knew we need the song.
You notice I'm taking notes even while very few interviewers take notes. I take notes because I need to remember, I write some key words down. Last, you said something, and I let it slide. I was going to interrupt you, but I decided not to, and I saved this for last. You used a term that I never heard before, and I like to think I've been around the block a little bit. Um, you know,
You know what? When you stop learning, that's when you die.
Oh,
So
sure.
you gotta
Oh, I
keep
know all
learning.
about that. That's why I take notes because it's learning, 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 and
Exactly.
if you're writing it down, it also I think it also helps the
Oh my
memory
God.
process. It jars when I see a word. It jars. And I have a million things that about you guys that jarred me, and I write it down,
I love it.
I'm going to look at this and I'll
Yeah.
remember a bunch of things. But you used a term I never heard before. And again, I pride myself in my knowledge of movies. I mean, I know but what is an intimacy coordinator?
Oh, so an intimacy coordinator, it's actually something kind of new in the last like 5-ish years, something like that. But an intimacy coordinator is basically someone who coordinates the intimate scenes. So a lot of times they are choreographers, because with a sex scene, it should be something that is choreographed beforehand. People shouldn't just be winging it because that's when mistakes happen. That's when actors' boundaries are crossed, and that's when things get uncomfortable. And the thing that I think is so important is that what Allison, our intimacy coordinator, said. She said, "I'm not the sex police. I'm here to make it easier for everyone because sometimes some directors and some actors are like, oh, I'm going to be stifled if this woman or this man is here telling me what I can or can't do to this other actor." And it's like, no, we're here to, one, make sure it looks good so you don't have to think about what you're doing. Um, Two, to make sure that we talk about what the boundaries are of actors, of what they're okay with showing, of what they're okay with being touched, what kind of choreography is going on beforehand, so that when you're in the scene, you're not worrying about, oh, am I making her or him uncomfortable right now? How am I looking from this angle? Are they seeing XYZ? They don't have to worry about those things. They can just act. And that is what an intimacy coordinator is. They make sure that the actors are safe and protected, and that the crew is safe and protected as well. And then they make sure that they look good
Yeah.
and
And
real.
and like I said, like our number one priority was always like a safe and open space. And so when those scenes were happening, I mean, we are putting as least amount of people in that room as possible. I think,
Yeah, you
I'm not
have. Yeah,
like,
exactly. The producer isn't even there. It's usually just the script supervisor and the director at the monitor. The DP is at the camera. Sound, if they can do it without a boom operator in there, that's what we did. Sometimes we had to, but sometimes they just leave the boom there. Because in the past, in other productions, people would take pictures of the monitor and share that around. And that is your actors should not be thinking about that. Your actors, because another thing too is that when you see the finished product, it's very different than being there on set. That's a different experience. And so not everyone needs to be there for that.
no.
That's my soapbox.
We love intimacy coordinators. Every set with any kind of intimate scene should have one. This was my first time, I think Nancy's first time too, working with an
It
intimacy
was,
coordinator,
yep.
and I never will not work with one again.
Hmm.
Sure.
Hmm.
Which is a segue. More films, more dreams, more things to do down the
Always
road.
our
Oh.
dreams.
Go first, I'll go after. Go
Yeah,
first.
sure. I mean, I wrote another sex positive film about this young woman who actually explores kink as a way to learn to say what she wants in the bedroom so that she can say what she wants in her real life. So I wrote that, and I would really love to direct it, just figuring out development and how to get it made. And then I'm just writing and making those dreams happen.
Okay, okay.
Um, I'm currently really inspired by The Yellow Wallpaper, the short story from the 1890s about women's hysteria, and I really want to do a modern take feature film on it, kind of relating to chronic yeast infections, which is another thing I have. Why not add another thing on? But it's another thing where, women's hysteria was removed from the DSM only in 1980. And there hasn't been a new yeast infection medication made in over 50 years. And it's something so common. Everybody, like every woman, will get a yeast infection at least once in her lifetime. And it's still, we don't know anything about our bodies. And I really want to have a play. This story, as you'll see, kind of unveils with the Velveteen Rabbit. And, it really inspired me to say, I really want to take another literary piece and really delve in and see what we can do with it. And women's hysteria, it's still here. It's just hidden. Let's talk about it.
Continued bravery to deal with things that people lock in the closet or in the drawer and stuff. Continued bravery. Which leads me to my last off-topic question, and I love asking this question. So I watched Academy Awards, 10 days ago, and again, I'm an indie author, and I have so much respect for what you guys
Yeah.
do. The indie authors, uh, indie film, that whole world. But anyway, I watched Academy Awards, and there was an independent film that won basically everything.
Yes. I know.
And I'm pinching myself ceremoniously and pinching myself because I am so excited and elated about that. We're talking about a $6 million budget, and we're talking best film, best director, who's from Jersey, by the way. Uh, yeah, yeah, and best actress. And to me, uh, it signals the advent of a brave new world that we're entering because we have distribution and streaming and things that we never thought about. We have a world that is changing by the day,
Yes.
literally by the day. So you being wonderful indie representatives, both of you, what is your take and what is your hope and what is your dream and what do you think about indie films?
Well, as someone living in LA right now where everything is film all the time too, and I'm around it so much, um, it's a hard time for the industry right now. And it's everyone is really having a hard time finding work right now. What with the strikes and the fires and COVID and everything, it's just kind of thing after thing after thing is making it where there's not a lot of filming going on right now. But the people who are filming are indie filmmakers. And I was talking to people about this recently, and I was like, I think it's just because we're like cockroaches. We won't die. Like we won't like no matter like what happens, we're used to like making it happen. Like whether there's barely any money or nothing is going right, we are always like we just want to get the story told. And I think that because it's such like a weird time in the industry right now, we're seeing this beautiful like renaissance of indie film. Um, and I think that it has shown me that at the end of the day, indie filmmakers are the people who are going to survive. And because we just can't not tell stories. We're crazy enough that we have to keep doing this thing no matter what.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously agree with all of that. And even in the Oscars the prior year, I forget his name, but from American Fiction, he made a really big stance on, I think that movie was also like 10 million indie and won a ton of awards and was fabulous and made a really big point up there. Like, look, you don't need to spend $100 billion on some big movie to make an amazing movie. If the story's there and the people making it are there, like you're going to have a fantastic and moving film. And I really hope that, moving forward, people can take away from this to really invest in these indie filmmakers like us
Yes.
and some of these amazing films we've been in festivals with. I mean, I've seen some of the most incredible films ever. And like you said, it's so sad because no one's going to see them. I hope they do. I hope they find amazing distribution and get seen worldwide. But that's not always the case. And I feel like, please invest in us. Please come to us. We can make it work. We're cockroaches. I was like, you tell me the budget, I will make it work.
Make it
Like,
work.
we can be creative, but like, we do need a budget and we do need, to eat and sleep and survive and pay rent. And so I think, hopefully it's this reemergence, renaissance of indie film, and I'm so here for it. And I'm so excited because I feel like that's where like these really raw and beautiful stories come from. And so I don't know, I'm really proud to be a part of it. Really excited.
Hey, we did it.
We did it.
This was
Ah!
this was wonderful. At the end of one of my favorite movies, Norma Ray. Um, love that movie. Sally Field, Ron Liebman. Ron Liebman says to Norma Ray, knowing you has been sumptuous.
That's
So
wonderful.
this interview has been sumptuous.
I
And
agree.
it has been. So, I'm officially welcome you to come back in any shape, way, form. I'm here 12 hours a day, seven, come back. We can do panel, anything. I mean, I want to grow this channel and really grow it even more and more. And you're part of it. And I'm so thrilled to meet you. Truly.
It's been great to meet you
Yeah.
too. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
So
much.
I'm stopping recording.
Okay.
Don't leave.